Thank you very much. Okay, is Matt Deek here?
Here.
Thanks, Matt.
How you guys doing?
Hey!
So I'm trying to come at this with a different perspective. I'm a dealer up in Saratoga. We just started dealing with regular civilians like you guys this year. Before that, it's strictly military and police sales only. So I would like to continue to sell to the people.
What's the name of your business? Yeah,
mtm-mfg. You'll see us typically at the Saratoga gun shows. We can't do the Albany shows because the law is here. So again, typically you guys talk about the legal ramifications of this law, the moral implications of, again, like the women's rights. Briefly, you guys touch on the technical aspects of registration and the 7-shot capacity of the mags. I'd like to talk also about today the real implications and the side of the 7-shot magazines, the registration period, and again, the technical side of things. Yep. Now you always hear about on the news, they talk about progressive. Well, they talked about when they passed this law, progressive limitations. What that is limiting your rights slowly, piece by piece. Now you guys probably had 20 years ago 15 shots in your magazine for Glocks, Berettas, things like that. Then they said, you know what? You can still have those if you want to pay a premium. Go to the shop and pay $100 bucks. Otherwise, you're stuck with 10 shots. So why does it matter how much money you spend for what kind of rights that you have? Does that matter? It shouldn't. So now you're saying you can't have those 15s. You can't have those 10s and transfer them to somebody else. You're stuck with 7. So you're going from 15 to 10 to 7. Now, why would they do that?
You want 0.
That's the ultimate goal. So here's a couple numbers that they can't debate with. The first one is, on average, in 40% of the shootings that people are involved in, regular people, 6+ shots are fired. So that means you're only going to be able to defend yourself against one guy 40% of the time. 8+ shots on the national scope of things in the United States are needed 25% of the time. So that means you're not going to be able to save yourself 25% of the time under the new law. Guaranteed. That's a fact. So after the next shooting, and there will be more shootings because crime never goes away. It doesn't matter what kind of laws they pass. What are they going to limit you to? 3 shots? 2? 1? Or 0? You can't stop crime through legislation, and they should know that. The major question is, why do the politicians here, armed security, state troopers, sheriffs, and anybody else, with no limitations? They can have whatever kind of guns they want, any capacity. Well, that's great because they are to save lives. Why is it their life worth more than your life, or your wife's life, or your kids? There's no reason for it.
For us, the police arrive just in time to draw a line around the body.
Right? Yep.
Yeah, that's right. So they don't do anything.
So what the SAFE Act has done has made for a divided society with different classes. Where's the equality now?
Some of us are more equal than others.
Yep.
Right.
Not all about
And outside of the bedroom.
Now, for about all those guys in the military that have served, like the one previous speaker that's in the Marine Corps, why do you trust those guys with M4 carbines, M249 saws with 30-round mags or 200-round belts, and the urban streets of Baghdad or Kandahar, wherever else, to defend themselves and those civilians? But when they come here to Albany, they're stuck with 7 shots to save themselves. You trust them over there, but not here. So that's not right.
Over there.
Now, as for crime here in the United States, D.C. was the murder capital of the country for years. Luckily, they've turned things around a little bit. Not much, though. Statistically, you were safer in Baghdad than Washington, D.C., even during the midst of the war on terror. How is that right? Next question I'd like to pose to you guys is, how is this new bill total registration? They said you only have to register guns that got certain features, or if they think it looks scary, whatever else.
That's my cabinet.
And the other question is, how will this totally stop all private transfers? Now, this is something that I don't think has been touched on before, and I'd like to explain why that is. Now, all ammunition sales after April of next year will have to be recorded and reported to the state police. And they said, if you buy a certain quantity, they'll start an investigation into you. That's a scary concept.
What's excessive?
So what quantity will start the state police investigation? Is it 5,000 rounds? Is it 500? 50? 5, it's a slippery slope. Each time it's a reduction, just like the magazine capacity. Now, once your local shops close, okay, like Zach Sports, or you got B&J's, whoever else, once they close, who's going to do all those transfers between you and your neighbor, or you and whoever else in your family? If you want to pass down a gun, you have to have a transfer done. You can't go to Dick's Sporting Goods to get a transfer. You can't go to Walmart get a transfer. You're stuck with that gun. If you die, it goes to the state. Okay? So support your local shops, because you're going to need them.
Then they send it down to freaking Mexico for the drug cartel.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I can shoot our own people.
Now, the same thing goes for ammunition. You're going to have to do a background check on ammunition. It doesn't matter if it's 5 rounds, 500 rounds. Okay? They're limiting the cost to dealers. What they can charge is $10. Now, a lot of these small shops, they got employees. They can't afford to do that transfer for you. They'll go out of business, and all you're going to get stuck with is Dick's or Walmart. And a lot of those guys are already saying, we're not going to do sales after April. Because they can't afford to.
A lot of states, you guys don't have to do it if you don't want to anyway.
Exactly.
So if y'all say don't do it, they ain't going to get done anyway.
So now, the technical aspects and the legal aspects is what I'd like to talk about. Now, what's the liability of these modified mags? Now, I read the bill. I called the hotline every day, a couple times a day. I've talked to probably every state trooper in the investigations unit. I couldn't get one answer as to what's acceptable to modify your mags. They didn't say if welding was definite, riveting, epoxy, it doesn't matter what it is, they can't give you an answer. But they can remind you on the phone. They have reminded me that if you're in possession of a magazine over the 10-round capacity that's grandfathered in, they can and they will charge you. How are they so sure of that, but they're not so sure about the method of making it legal? So, will these politicians that pass this law have blood on their hands if someone dies due to not having the rounds available to defend themselves, or because of a magazine failing in a time of need? So this is a major liability issue. It doesn't matter if you pass a law in regards to car safety, airbags, doesn't matter what it is. If they pass something that says this is required and you die because of it, there's typically a lawsuit. So this is something they better think about. Because if there's those guys at home, they got a gun, they're trying to stay legal, even if they want to abide by the law, they can get killed. So these are serious issues that they have to really think about. It's too late for it now, but we can hopefully get this thing repealed. So they say, well, there's no confiscation in this bill, and that's not true. And I say that because if you own an AR-15, you own some sort of AK-type clone, something like that, or even if you got something like a Sega with a muzzle brake, it's automatically an assault weapon now. I don't see how that is. But the thing is, I say you have until a certain period to get them out of the state or register them. Now, the confiscation part comes into play is when you die. When you die, what happens with that gun?
Property of the state.
Exactly, property of the state. And in the bill, if you read the bill, it says that upon death, your estate has to be categorized and a list made of everything in your possession, guns and ammunition, types, models, makes, serial number, everything gets reported to that state. So how is that not registration right there upon death? How is that not confiscation upon your death?
Right.
The answer is it is. So that's exactly right. And that's the problem is with the 94 ban, they passed that because people said, oh, it's okay, I can keep my gun. Yeah, you're right, you can keep that gun. And you can pass it on to other people. This law here, you can't do that. So again, that's basically taking the guns out of your hand when you pass. So again, the government has crossed the line in the sand with this, and we have to get this thing repealed.
Yeah.